Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another one of the CPDSO's weekly webinars. That is the CPD Standards Office, and it's another one of our weekly webinars. Today I have Joanne with me, and we're going to be talking about 2021 social media trends. I still can't get used to saying 2020, and it's 2021 already. It's sounding like Star Trek or something like that, but bring on the future. And today we've got Joanne with a crystal ball. We're going to be looking at some of the social media trends going into 2021. Okay, so today is the 10th of December. We've got a couple more weeks until Christmas. I hope everyone's looking forward to that. Just going to go over some housekeeping rules. So it looks like everyone's got their videos off already. So I'm guessing we've got some regulars in the room. If you do have your video on, I can't see anyone, but please do keep them off for this session because this session is going to be shared. So we're going to get this up on YouTube afterwards and on other social media platforms. So it will be accessible, but please do still take notes, but you will have access to this video session afterwards on demand. So bear that in mind. And we'll also be sending out a copy of the slides as well. So I just want to go over quickly some of the chat rules. So we do obviously have a chat, and that is going to be closed. So everything's going to be coming to myself in the chat. So please do just a couple of things. If there is any complaints, please put a C at the beginning of that. So just put a C at the beginning of that. I'm not expecting any complaints, but if there is any, just put a C in the front of that and I'll pick that up. Or you can also email me. My email should be on your screen just now. There may be times when I do open up the chat if Joanne wants me to, if she wants some interaction, I will open up the chat. In those moments, please do not self-promote. Please do not share any links or anything like that. Just obviously engage as Joanne is asking you to engage. And obviously use it to share support and ask questions. We love a bit of support. If you want to say something nice about myself or Joanne, we will definitely accept that. So please feel free to share that. And then also, if there's any questions throughout the session, as they come to your mind, just put them in the chat. But please do put a Q in front of them so I can pick them up easily for the Q&A session. So just put a capital Q in front of those questions and I'll pick them up and I'll pose them to Joanne in the Q&A session. So just got a couple of polls that I want to run through quickly, just some standard polls. So I just want to know your status with us. So it should be up on your screen just now. So I just want to know if you are a member or a non-member. You can go ahead and answer that question for me. Be much appreciated. We've got people still coming into the room. Hello, everybody that's just joining us. Happy to have you here from wherever you're coming in from. We do have a global audience, so from wherever you're coming in from today, happy to have you with us. If you can just answer that question on your screen just now, be much appreciated. I'm going to give you another 5 seconds with that one. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you very much for that. And we just got one more poll. So now I just want to know if you are not a member, please let us know if you want to be contacted with some information or if you're just here just to check out the webinar. So please let us know if you want to be contacted with some information. We will get one of our team to give you a call ASAP with that one, or if you just are here for the information on the webinar. So I'm going to leave that one up for another few seconds. While you're just answering that one, I just want to share our YouTube link from the webinar we had last week. So it was a really great webinar we had last week. It was all about dealing more effectively with others for quicker results and better relationships. So please do check that out. It's on our YouTube channel. So after this, feel free to head over there and check that out. and subscribe as well, because we do obviously have some great content on there. Like this one's going to be on there as well from Joanne, and we've had a host of other great webinars from SEO to LinkedIn to motivation, presentation, and loads more. And there's also a link to our website on there where you can get onto future webinars. I'm going to end that poll now. Thank you guys for participating in that one as well. And so now just a quick breakdown of today. So we're going to be here for an hour. And we're going to have a 15-minute webinar session with Joanne, who's going to be sharing her screen next and doing the presentation. And then we're going to move into the Q&A session, which is going to last for about 15 minutes. So please do, like I said, send in those questions while Joanne's speaking, and we'll get them warmed up to fire at the end of the session. Recording and the slides are going to be available afterwards. So you will be getting those sent over to you. And now for the main event, we have Joanne Sweeney. So Joanne Sweeney is the CEO of Digital Training Institute and a two-time author and a training consultant. Her latest book, Public Sector Marketing Pro, was named in the best new PR books for 2020 list by Book Authority. She has a host of she hosts the Public Sector Marketing Show as well on the podcast. We're going to be sharing that link and the links to her books in that follow-up email that we're going to be sending out with the recording and the slides of this session. So please do look out for those. And without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to the very capable Joanne Sweeney.
Daniel, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And I am delighted to be here. Guys, I'm coming to you from the west of Ireland. So let me know where in the world you are tuning in from. So over the next 45 minutes, I'm going to share my insights into 2021 social media trends. I actually contributed to a report by Talkwalker and HubSpot, and my prediction for the top social media trend of 2021 actually comes in at number 2 in the report and comes in at number 10 in this presentation. I am a member of CPD standards. I have all my courses accredited. I do own the Public Sector Marketing Institute, which, as you can tell by the name, speaks to a government and a public sector market, but I also have the Digital Training Institute, which facilitates me dealing with a broader business space. So it doesn't really matter what area or what sector of society you're beaming in from, social media is applicable to everybody. And so, yeah, let's get right into it. Daniel mentioned the fact that he's trying to get used to 2021. 2020 has kind of been a weird blur. And absolutely, there has been a significant impact on social media because of the global pandemic. COVID-19 has been trending practically every day since the end of February, right across Europe and then right across the world. It is dominant in all conversations. And in fact, going into 2021, it is also going to remain dominant. So what happened with social media? Our lives became like this. This image, which is quite stark, from a piazza in Italy, one of the first European countries to get hit by COVID-19, really reflects what happened in the rest of the world. We went indoors, we were locked down indoors, but social media became a great aid for business, for government, for public health, for older members of society who were perhaps living on their own, and indeed younger people who were living on their own, or students living away from home. But there was a 70% increase in the time users spent on social media this year in Italy alone, just after the crisis arrived. But let's look at social messaging. Social messaging increased by 50%. And I'm predicting that these trends are going to continue into 2021. So great was our behavior change this year that it's going to continue into next year. Social messaging, so we're looking at Instagram messaging, Messenger on Facebook, and WhatsApp. And remember, all of these assets are owned by Facebook. So Facebook's dominance continued this year, and it's going to continue next year. So however you're planning your social media strategy for 2021, you have to give cognizance to messaging and how you are incorporating messaging into your strategy. It's now an acceptable way to book an appointment, to arrange a meeting, to get into contact with somebody, even on a B2B level or a B2C level. So ask yourself, are we incorporating social messaging into our social media strategy for next year? UGC, many of you will know, is user-generated content. This has been big on social media for a number of years, right? So what's new about user-generated content, or UGC, next year? Well, in fact, it's a remixing. So remixing is layering your own self-expression, your own personality, and your own context, even the context of your business, your organization, or you yourself, if you are an influencer or a public figure, on top of existing content. The biggest example of remixing, I mean, this year it's been TikTok, right? It had 1 billion downloads in 2019. It grew in dominance in 2020. The biggest audience is age 16 to 24. Lots of people had lots more time on their hands and they became creative. So remixing, looking at TikTok as an example, and of course we've got Reels now in Instagram. Instagram originally stole stories from Snapchat. Now they've stolen TikTok from TikTok and they've introduced Reels. They even redesigned the app interface so that Reels is the middle button on our phone. If it's iPhone you're using, it's at the bottom. If it's Android, it's going to be at the top. So Reels, they put it front and center of the app. Another thing that I will say is, if you don't think that TikTok is relevant to your business or your organization, or you're not willing to be an early adopter, let me give you a tip. Download the app, register an account, and start practicing creating that layered effect of video. Mobile video on TikTok and on Reels is what consumers want to engage with. It's what citizens want to see. It's up to 60 seconds long. It's using clips. It's creating challenges. So like dances and sounds went viral this year. So how can you layer a TikTok challenge or a trending effect, a trending sound on the platform in the context of your business or organization? I did a study. I only finished it 2 weeks ago. It was aimed at government and public sector, but I analyzed 518 organizations' accounts, social media accounts, covering Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And that resulted in 1,048 social media profiles. And I want to try and get benchmark engagement rates for social in that particular niche. But what I found was that when I looked at TikTok, TikTok gives you the biggest engagement rates out of any other social network. That's one reason why you want to be there. Apart from the really full immersive screen and engaging video content that allows you to show your brand's personality, you can expect to get engagement rates of anywhere between 10 and 15%. This is remarkable. Compare that to 0.3% on Facebook, 1% if you're really an outlier, 0.5% on Twitter, again 1% if you're an outlier, and then between 1 and 3% on Instagram as average engagement rates, 10 to 15% on TikTok. It's definitely worth trying and experimenting. When a platform's new, sometimes we can be like overwhelmed by it, but get on, have fun with it. Don't take yourself too seriously, but really leverage it for creating great mobile video and seeing how it works with your audience. But trend for 2021 is remixing, and it's going to continue. Back to the COVID conversation. The 4 C's of COVID-19 content are going to continue into 2021. Right now, the conversation has shifted, right? And in England and in Northern Ireland this week, we've seen the very first citizens get the vaccine. Of course, thousands, tens of thousands of people got the vaccine during the trial period, but now after it got approval and it's open to the broader market, that changed the narrative. So we're all feeling more optimistic, we're feeling more positive, but the COVID conversation is going to remain. So what are the 4 C's going to be? Community. The sense of community really inspired us this year. We had more time on our hands. As I said, we began to reflect on what mattered to us most in life when other things were taken away from us. And it was that sense of community, family, friends, where we lived, what we're part of, what we care about. Nature had a break from all the environmental damage because we were locked down. Contactless payment. I know we were contactless in terms of being locked down, but this relates to the whole behavioral change in terms of contactless payment. You go into shops now, I see it here in Ireland, I'm not sure where you are, but do you see it where you are, where there are posters up encouraging us to pay with contactless? So again, it is less of that touching and that transferring of potential COVID. That will continue into 2021. And what else does that say? It says that there's been a huge behavioral shift to online shopping, to trusting the mobile phone as a point of payment. Cleanliness, of course, was a big C this year. I mean, who remembers when you met a stranger and you shook your hand, maybe you'd give them a hug. If you were, mainland European, maybe you would give them a kiss on each cheek, or in some countries in mainland Europe, it's 3 kisses. That won't happen in 2021, but cleanliness in your content is still going to remain important, because until we get that herd immunity, until we get 70% of our citizens in every country vaccinated, we are still going to have to maintain social distancing, wear a mask, wash your hands. Look what Lego did. So this is some content from Lego. Remember to wash your hands, like our Lego minifigure friend here. Thanks to our colleague Stuart Harris for the pick. So again, bringing trending content and conversations into social will continue next year. And then compassion. I mean, we clapped on Thursday evenings for the NHS staff in the UK here, for the staff of the National Health Service, the HSE, and right around the world that was replicated. But showing compassion on social, playing your part, making a difference, contributing to your community, promoting cleanliness, offering contactless, all of these will still be drivers of conversation in 2021. Memetic media. So memes have been around, and you're like, Joanne, this isn't new. Why is it making the top trends for 2021? Well, they're really big, and guess what? Memes with video, and also thinking about the layering effect and UGC with TikTok, they're also going to become really, really huge. Did you see the TikTok featuring, I can't remember her name, it happened this week. She's a famous chef from England. Her name has escaped me. Somebody put it into chat. It'll come back to me. She says she deliberately called a microwave E, and somebody kind of created a meme, but on TikTok, and it went absolutely viral. She trended on Twitter. Somebody's going to have to help me out with her name, because it's going to really annoy me. And she said it was deliberate. Other people said it wasn't. It blew up. But it's just an example of somebody taking another piece of content that they saw in a YouTube video, clipped it up, actually creating a TikTok, creating a meme out of it, and hey, it went viral, and it dominated all conversations across all platforms. So memes are big amongst younger generations, with 55% of 13 to 35-year-olds sending memes every week. Over the last year, that number has grown. Mentions of memes increased over the last 13 months from 19.8 million mentions in August 2019 to 24.9 in July 2020. So it's up by 26%. So users turn to them for engagement and escapism, entertainment, and of course, it's hugely shareable content. So we see that trend going to continue into 2021. We also love nostalgia. Nostalgia marketing, I absolutely love, but even as a consumer myself, I am completely drawn in whenever I see a mixtape. I actually just got a mixtape phone case cover for my 11-year-old son for Christmas. But you know, let's admit it, no matter what era we grew up in, I'm a child of the 90s. Okay, I wasn't born in the 90s clearly, but the 90s is my favorite decade, and anything that hits me on social from the 90s, I'm in, I'm sharing, I'm engaging. It makes me feel nice. I think of a micro moment in my life back in the 90s where a pair of Levi jeans reminds me of my disco days. A song reminds me of my free days with my pals. Nostalgia marketing is massive, and it's going to continue to be in 2021. But top tip for you, make sure you have context on your nostalgia marketing, right? I'm 42 years old. You hit me with the 90s content. You know, you go to my 25-year-old daughter, right? What's she interested in? She's probably interested in something from the noughties. So make sure your nostalgia marketing has context. And yeah, I mean, look at this, a pink mixtape. Can't get any better. And it's a huge form of escapism. I think we have, somebody has saved me in chat. Has somebody saved me in chat? Yes, Nigella Lawson. I had a complete blank. Thank you so much. Did you see it? That was just a great example to share with you of what Memetic media can do. So the next trend for 2021 is conversation marketing, but also known as AI, artificial intelligence. Are we going to start automating, but automating and contextualizing and personalizing conversations? Note, I already said that the growth in messaging, private messaging, has gone up 50%. Now, if that is the case, we need to think about how we're going to structure and scale our conversations on social on a one-to-one or on a one-to-many level. So conversational marketing is a method of engaging customers through conversations, and people feel valued when you're talking to them. Chatbots can do it. You might be familiar with Facebook chatbots. So let's say I go into a major retail brand's messenger and I say, hey, and they say, hey, Joanne, how can we help you? And then I'm asking them a question. They will have an automated sequence based on frequently asked questions. So chatbots are there, but think about social messaging. You can also automate messaging in Instagram and in Messenger. You might also want to introduce WhatsApp, and then using video for personalized messaging. Imagine if you were in a service-based business and you began to send your customers individual thank you or hello or welcome messages. That would be pretty cool. And don't forget audio and voice. The call and audio is growing in 2021. And don't forget how you can incorporate that. But it's really about building relationships through personalized and one-to-one content, but at scale. Social gaming is going to be big. We now have AR, augmented reality, and VR, virtual reality, as standard in our marketing. And some brands have used it to great effect to date. It's going to grow next year. So gamification as a way to add an extra layer, an extra edge and innovation to our social media is something that will do well for brands who are willing to engage. So you're helping people come into a virtual reality world, or you're bringing them into their existing world and they are adding another layer over it. So that is augmented reality. So it's about connecting, playing, gaming, and exploring. I have seen a kitchen brand actually do it, where you can actually use their app, and I can bring my phone into the kitchen, use their app, and I can actually layer their kitchens over mine, so I get a sense of my new reality. So if you can introduce AR or VR, and those technologies are mainstream, you know, we're not talking about 2030 here. AR and VR have been around for, you know, almost 5 years. They are mainstream. And when something becomes mainstream, it means that customers expect it, will use it, but also the price point in terms of getting that innovation into your business is also going to reduce. Old school marketing for a new market. This is different to nostalgia marketing, but guess what? We're going back to the old-fashioned marketing of voice. Podcasts are growing at a phenomenal rate. COVID-19 has also given it a spike. So people are multitasking when they're listening to podcasts. When somebody is listening to you, they've sought you out on a podcast app store. They're interested in the topic and the subject matter that your podcast is about. They've most likely subscribed. So they're telling you that they know, like, and trust you. And now a step further, they're loyal to you. And what podcasting does is, for me, it positions you in your marketplace. I'm on to my second podcast now. I podcast as JSB Talks Digital for 2.5 years. I dropped the B from my name, so I had to rebrand my podcast. And now I've relaunched as the Public Sector Marketing Show. And what I'm going to do in the new year, and I hope you'll come and subscribe, is that I'm going to launch a new live show across social media, but I'm going to repurpose that live show into a podcast, because the opportunity to reach a mass audience and a niche audience with a podcast is so great. So podcasting is definitely something that you want to think about. And you can repurpose podcasts for social. Audiograms, using a tool like Wave. They have a great free version. It's wavve.co. So you can turn audio into audiograms, which actually gives you that video effect. So then you're actually getting video views and higher reach and engagement through the algorithms. You can repurpose your podcast also into short videos, right? And then finally, you can then make sure that your podcasts are found on search, because search marketing is equally important to social media marketing. And if your podcasts are optimized on the podcast store, you're more likely to be found on search, and then people come over and subscribe. Voice also, we've seen Twitter introduce audio notes and audio tweets. From my experience, it's available on my digital training Twitter account, my public sector pros Twitter account, but not available on my Joanne Sweeney Twitter account. Now that's kind of interesting. Twitter doesn't make a complete differentiation between personal and business with their accounts compared to Facebook. So with Facebook, we have a Facebook profile, Facebook page, but in actual fact, Twitter with audio tweets seems to be making a difference. But I love audio tweets. So it's just like a voice note. You record a voice note, it turns into a tweet, but it also turns into an audiogram because they layer the video over it. And so in that case, you're also getting video. And then finally, the old newsletter. I love the newsletter, the digital newsletter. I send mine every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Email marketing is the closest place in the digital marketing funnel to a sale. They are coming back big style in 2021, and it really helps complement your social media marketing. Build your list, build your tribe, promote it on social. What's the call to action from social? Where are you bringing your social audience? Are they coming to your website? What do you want them to do? Getting people to subscribe to your newsletter is vital, because you're getting a qualified audience, you're getting know, like, and trust, and then you have prospects. Number 9, then, the social media giants are actually going to remain as important in 2021 as they are now. We're not predicting any new big ones to come and break and disrupt the existing big 5 or big 6, if we include LinkedIn there as well. So what I would say to you is really get your 2021 social media strategy down in January if you haven't got it done already. Think about elevating the standard and the output of your social media, and also be sure that you are integrating into an overall digital marketing strategy. Remember, social media for social media's sake isn't a strategy, it's a hope strategy. Everything that we do on social needs to be done with purpose, Okay, you're being purposeful, you're doing it for a reason, and there's a business or an organizational goal that it's supporting. So despite differences in audience from LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, and differences in demographics and users, these channels hold similar positions in consumers' minds, and it's extremely unlikely that they will lose that dominance in 2021. Even though awareness of TikTok is increasing through numerous stories, mainly focused across the US, it still has a long way to go before it catches up. So again, if you want to be an early adopter, get into TikTok, create those videos. Number 10 here, and this actually was my prediction for 2021 in this report by Talkwalker and HubSpot, and that is the rise of digital disinformation. They're already talking about the communications that governments and public health agencies need to do around the vaccine and convincing citizens that it's safe in the first instance, that it's the right thing to do, and that it is going to mean that we get some sort of normality back into our lives. But digital disinformation isn't a new thing. It's been around for many years. I mean, fake news has been around for many years. I know it entered the contemporary dictionary a couple of years ago, and the most famous phrase of one world leader. But I feel really strongly about this, and I feel that we all have a responsibility to make sure that we don't share digital disinformation, that we are proponents of the truth, that we call fake out, that we actually tag our tweets when we're responding to misinformation with fact check. And so I think us as individuals, but also us as organizations, have a role in what I call digital citizenship. So I would really like to see you introduce a coherent, but also a purposeful plan in relation to digital disinformation next year, that you alert your employees, that you encourage them not to share information that is not verified, to not be adding commentary that's suggestive that you're sharing fake news, and that we make sure that the truth rises to the top. And one of the best ways that we can do this is we can empower every subject matter expert in our organizations and in our teams to join social, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it is Twitter or whether it's Facebook on the company Facebook page contributing content, and that they share what they know. I mean, I talk about what I know online, and what I'm doing in that sense, and it goes back to the journalist in me, right? So I trained as a broadcast journalist, and at the age of 20, I was taught, check your facts, check your sources, check them a second time, and check them a third time. And I've really taken that training into my world of digital marketing and social media. And so don't just blame the bad actors who are spreading fake news. We have to look at ourselves and say, what are we doing in our industry and in our sector to make sure that the truth is rising to the top? I interviewed Alexandra Kamenovich on my podcast recently. She's the social media manager of the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization are currently the #1 social media brand in the world. Who would have known that at the beginning of this year? And she said to me that when they went over this year to LinkedIn and they shared public health messages and advice for workplaces and for staff and for senior leaders, she said their brand uplift, their awareness and their engagement increased by 200%, because she said the executives and the leaders and the users of LinkedIn take fact very seriously. And so they became huge advocates. So I think that we all can be leaders in our own right. We don't need to be a blogger or an Instagram influencer to make an impact, each of us in our own right. So I think that's an important one for next year. I mean, as an example, in a recent study, 28% of US adults believe a potential vaccine for COVID-19 will be used to implant microchips into people. You know, that's quite worrying. And I do believe that digital diplomacy is what we're experiencing now. Politics, discourse, you know, journalism, media, everything happens online. In fact, at my event, my report launch 2 weeks ago, I had Tom Cochran, and he used to be chief digital advisor for Barack Obama. He also wrote the foreword for my book. And I asked him what role social media played in COVID-19. And he said, well, social media is mainstream communications. Mainstream communications now isn't radio, print, or TV. Mainstream communications is in fact social media. So, you know, there's been a huge shift. COVID has disrupted a lot of sectors, how we work, how we think, how we behave, but it's absolutely fast forward us a decade in terms of digital embracement. So then finally, the impact of the socially conscious audience. It's number 11 on my slides, but it's actually number 1 in the TalkWalker HubSpot report. This is the number 1 prediction for 2021. Citizens and consumers are going to engage with brands that are socially conscious. They want to buy, you know, those that are conscious of the environment might not buy fast fashion, as an example. Those people who want to, you know, engage with utility companies who are maybe trying to reduce their CO2 emissions. So the rise of the socially conscious audience is something that you need to think about. Our social media audiences are informed, they're engaged, they are highly vocal and opinionated, and they are very discerning about what brands they engage with online. So it's not like it used to be 5-6 years ago on social, and if you posted content and you had videos or you were active, you'd get the numbers. Now it's shifted. People are actually deciding whether they want their personal brand to be connected to another brand. So this is definitely one to watch. And TalkWalker actually had a look at conversation clusters relating to Generation Z and Alpha. So these are younger audiences under the age of 30. And they identified how socially aware they were. So from politics to equality, education, mental health, finance, changing food trends. These are all prolific conversations on social. And I even noticed this with my 2 children. So my daughter is 25 and my son is 11. So they fit into Generation Z and Generation Alpha. And they understand what brands stand for and what they care about. And so this is a very, very important consideration for you guys to think about. So the impact of COVID-19 also cannot be overlooked, as it has impacted Gen Z very badly. 50% have either lost a job or have had someone in their household lose a job because of the pandemic. So they really want their brands to be socially conscious. They want them to care. They want them to be considered. And in the coming years, they will have more to fight for, and they will become more vocal about the issues that matter more to them. So you need to look at your audiences when you're segmenting your audiences for your strategy. And you really need to ask yourself, in what way are our target audiences socially conscious? What do they care about? And do we care about it also? And is our vision for what they care about the same as ours? Because, you know, some brands are being called out on it. So here is the report. How they undertook the report is that they went to industry experts and they asked me to contribute, and I did, but then they went to 3,000 marketers. And of all the industry trends, they asked those 3,000 marketers to predict what would be the top social media trends in 2021. And they came out with 10, and I added in the impact of COVID-19 to make it 11. So here you go. Here is the link to the report. This is a clickable link, and I'll share it with Daniel afterwards, and he will share it with you. It's a bit.ly short link, and it's SM Trends 2021. And if you want to join the conversation, the official hashtag, which also trended when this report was released a number of weeks ago, is Social Media Trends 2021. So thank you for your time and your attention. I will now open the floor to questions, and let's consider what's on your mind for 2021.
Thank you so much, Joanne. I think people were glued to their screens for that one for sure. No one really moved, and we want some questions to come in though now, guys. So please do send in a few questions for us. We'll be really happy. I was actually, you got me thinking a lot. My ears pricked up a couple of times, so I'll start off a few things with a few questions that came to me. But please do get your questions into the chat now because the Q&A has started. So one thing that I wanted to know is what are some of so you said about AR and VR, obviously that's like the cutting edge stuff. So if someone was interested in getting involved in using some AR and VR, is there any easy way to do that? Is there any kind of more, because it sounds very complicated. So is there any simple way to get involved in that?
Yeah, there are actually apps on the App Store. Google has their own VR app, and there are some iPhone apps as well. So go to the App Store or the Play Store and have a look at AR and VR, where you can create your own games. So they're really simple. They're based on templates, and then you could add your brand theme, your brand logo, and then it's about context and creating some sort of layering effect or story. So for example, you can have characters. So you could create your own characters. And then as people walk through your shop, perhaps, if they have the app, they can see these characters. And maybe these characters represent a sale or a campaign. So there are apps that developers have built that will allow you to add gamification, AR and VR, into your own brands. So yeah, go search them out in the App Store. Also, it's always great to have a look at who's leading with AR and VR in your sector, and go and have a look and see what they're doing. And it's not that you're copying or emulating, because it's just about being inspired and really understanding how these technologies can be applied to your own business or organization.
Definitely, 100%. Okay, brilliant. So that's AR and VR. And then I also wanted to know about TikTok. Obviously, TikTok's been massive. I'm 30 odd, and I feel out of the loop with TikTok and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of know, do you think you were talking about remixing the content? Is that where it kind of stemmed from, the TikTok? And
yeah.
So can people use TikTok and then migrate the content that they use on TikTok onto other platforms? Is that useful?
Yeah, and in fact, TikTok have been very, very smart. So while other platforms allow you to share, nobody allows you to share quite like TikTok. So when you create your video, you can share it to any other social network. You can also WhatsApp it or message to somebody, and it doesn't lose its integrity, and it shares perfectly over. The reason that they did that was because when you share a TikTok to Instagram, for example, the TikTok watermark stays on the video. So it's really, really smart. So once it's shared from the TikTok platform to anywhere else, the TikTok branding remains. And that's been a really clever way for them to introduce themselves to other audiences. So this evening, Daniel, when you're dual screening and maybe having your dinner, go on to Instagram and check out Reels. And you will probably find that most of the videos on Reels are actually TikToks that have been shared.
Wow. Okay. So TikTok's cornered that market. So with the TikTok watermark, is there any way to pay for a premium to get rid of the watermark, or is that just
standard? No, that's just their business model, But you know what? I think it's a cool thing. I think it's showing you that you're active on TikTok, and it will also loop back the audience back to your own, back to your own followers. But what you could do is you could go to TikTok, create your video, and then save it to your device before you share it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I know that like LinkedIn have introduced stories, Twitter have introduced stories, which are fleets, but the innovation and the creativity is rubbish. Like they don't even have filters, and their stickers are rubbish. So what I do is I create my stories on Instagram, save it to my phone, and then go over to Twitter and go over to LinkedIn and upload them there. And there's no watermark.
Exactly, because some of these apps, like I know Instagram, they have some tools built into the app that make it easier to make those kind of cool videos and stuff like that. So yes, definitely. Sometimes you don't even need to pay for these tools anymore. You can get them in the app, like you said, Joanne, and then download it and then share it. So yeah, TikTok and Instagram might be useful for that, guys. We got a question in from Jo Henwood. She says, what may be the impact of the new legislation rules around social media monopoly, e.g. on Facebook? That's a really interesting one.
I heard this today. So I literally heard the news bulletin at lunchtime, and it said that Facebook may have to sell off WhatsApp and Instagram because of their dominance. So tell you a story. I happen to be in the European Parliament because I work with some clients out there in Brussels. It's about 2 years ago now when Mark Zuckerberg was addressing the European Parliament and MEPs over their dominance. And that question came up. And so I think Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like to lose control. In fact, if you've seen how he's positioned himself in the social media market, he bought Instagram because he wanted to swallow up Snapchat, and he introduced stories.
Yes,
he's introduced Reels in the last 3 months because he saw the rise of TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, so, but the legislators are watching this and going, small players are being pushed out of the market. They have the money, they have the wherewithal. We have competition legislation for every other sector of society. Why isn't it applying here? I think this is one to watch. Don't have the answer, but I mean, if legislation is changed, this could be a game changer. We've seen that one of the trends for 2021 is that the big players, nobody's really going to disrupt them. But I wonder, I mean, I think Mark Zuckerberg is a smart guy. I think that he would do everything in his power to prevent that happening. From a user point of view, do they care who owns these apps? Maybe not, but perhaps you and I, who are marketers and interested in the industry, maybe we care. It'll take a major legislative change. I mean, Europe can sign off for Europe, the US can sign off for the US, and then, you know, you've got China and other continents who make up their own minds. But it would be interesting to see if even the UK, if one market moves first, how will the others respond?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess that's another one to look out for in 2021. Still saying 2020. We haven't moved on just yet. I'm going to share the social media trends HubSpot report in the chat now, because we've had a few requests to do so. So if you just check out the chat now, that's there for you. For those that requested it and want to go and rush over and check that out. So Andrew asks, you mentioned having a marketing strategy. I'm a business owner and have only started using social media for my business in the last year. Where would a business owner start in developing a marketing strategy, as I am not a marketer? What advice can you give?
Yeah, I'll read out the headings, and Daniel, if you want to put these into chat, that might be useful. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that you want to do is an audit. You start with an audit to establish what your current benchmark is. So how many followers do we have? What are our engagement rates? A tool that I recommend to do a social media audit is Social Insider. It's €99 for 1 month. Buy it as a once-off. Maybe if you have another business colleague who wants to share the subscription for a month, do that and run your accounts through it. And that will give you a full picture of engagement and performance over the past 90 days. That's the first thing. The second thing is you got to ask yourself, what do I want social media to do for me? You need to have business goals. For you, as a new business owner, number 1 would probably be brand awareness. Number 2 would be perhaps generating leads. And then 3, can you convert it into sales? And so after that, you think about your audience. Who is my business audience? Who are my customers? And on what social network are they? Some people take a 90-10 approach to social media. My clients are on LinkedIn, right? I'm a B2B business. They're on LinkedIn. And I would spend about 60% of my time on LinkedIn because that's where the business is. Yeah, I've got a Facebook page. Yeah, I've got Instagram, but it's not shoring up the leads. So go where the customers are. After your audience segmentation, the next thing I think about is content. Okay. And content isn't showing up on Twitter and tweeting and showing up on your Facebook page 3 times a week. Content is about planning. What triggers, pain points, or hopes do your customers have? And then you create content around it. Do a Friday Facebook Live and talk about their pain points, right? Do a free webinar like this and get some leads, promoted on social, get them into the funnel, and then have a sale, an upsell at the end. Get people to know, like, and trust you. And then I would think about, how do I measure success? You know, how many leads do I get? What's my engagement rate? Am I getting sales? So be very considered. Social media can be a time suck, you know, and we can blame it for wasting our time, but go in there with purpose. Have goals, look at your competitors. Social Insider will also audit your competitors as well, and pick off maybe 3 or 5 that you look up to, that you aspire to, and upskill. Come to webinars like this and learn from other people, but go in with focus. Don't do, you know, a splattergun approach. A hope on social doesn't work. Hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. So there's those 5 key points in the chat there. So Social Insider, and then like I just want to echo that one. I think it's really important to kind of have a look at your where is your client gonna be? What social media do they use? So like Joanne said, it's just so important to know what they're going to use. Otherwise, it becomes a bit pointless and like a pointless exercise where you're just kind of shooting in the dark. So really find out what platform they use and their pain points, and then you're halfway there after that. So no, brilliant roundup there, Joanne. Thank you. We got Millie that's asked a question as well. Do you have any tips for community managers on branded social media channels? How should they be engaging authentically and building their relationships with the consumer?
Oh, that's a great question. I love the fact that this is on your mind. Very often brands make the mistake of being a broadcaster, pushing out content, whereas you want to be a magnet for conversation, but sometimes people are afraid of it. My first tip, and maybe you have it already, is develop your tone of voice. So start doing scenario-based testing. So let's say, you know, Joanne comes onto your social channel. She's got a query about a product. How do you converse with me? Figure that out. If I've got a complaint, how do you talk to me? If people are, you know, talking about your competitor on your channel, do you not take yourself too seriously? Do you add humor? So be very clear on your tone of voice. Again, it has to be authentic. I completely agree with you. And one thing that I just keep in mind is put the customer first. Think about Joanne with the complaint. And I had a session with a guy called Tony Reno. He's got the best name in the business, right? Tony Reno. So Tony did a study on negativity online, and he quoted some of my work. So I got him into my group of students and I interviewed him. And the big takeaway that I had from that, especially around negativity, he says, understand where they're coming from. Are you not listening to them? Are they complaining because they haven't been heard through a traditional phone channel, a call center? Are they negative because you've let them down and you're refusing to admit it? It's always very important to come at community management and moderation from the public's perspective. Also, you need to set rules of engagement. What are the rules of engagement? Make sure that you have a moderation policy. Do not allow abuse. Do not allow incitement to hatred. Do not allow, you know, racially motivated commentary. There should be no place for it. And again, it's like standing up to disinformation. Don't give that air, and quote your moderation policy to your customers and have it linked in your Twitter bio or in your Facebook page. And then train your staff and understand with capacity how responsive you can be. Don't promise the public that you're there from 9 to 5. If you've got one staff member, you're getting 300 messages a day. So you need to be realistic. And the public are fine if they say, you know, questions or DMs will be open between 10 and 12 Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because that's all we have, then, you know, that's what you do. I saw Harvey Norman in Ireland close their Twitter DMs this week because of the volume of queries about the PS5 that nobody can get their hands on for Christmas. But I thought that was a smart move. They said they clearly didn't have the capacity. And they said now email is the way that will answer customer service. So manage expectations, put your rules of engagement boundaries, and develop your tone of voice.
I was actually going to ask a question relating to that. I literally just wrote it down about moving between social messaging systems like Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp Business, and having that kind of smooth flow with your delegates or clients, and email. So kind of which one is better and more suited, and do they play, or what roles do they play?
That's a great question. So in terms, let's go to messaging. How I think you could really manage messaging is get a list of your FAQ and your FNC. So FAQ, as you know, is frequently asked questions. List them down, get into a Zoom room and get your team around there and say, what are the most frequent questions we're getting asked on all lines of communication? Okay. Then you need to develop content from that. So then you can signpost people. Okay. And that can become an automated chatbot. So, hey, Joanne, what's your question? And it's probably going to be one of the top 10. And then the answer is already there with a link to signpost them. The FNCs that I talk about in my book are called frequent nasty comments. People are afraid of the public, but I think the public give us invaluable insights into our own business. So take FNCs, frequent nasty comments, on the chin, and bring them back and go, how do we respond to these comments, you know? And then get what I call a line to take. Get a line to take and empower your team with those. Email is usually now for transactional conversations. So if somebody's buying a product off you and they've paid you, they need an email receipt. They need an email to say your product has been dispatched. They need an email to say you're booked on the webinar. Here's a reminder, just like Daniel sent to us. So email is for, I think, transactional. Also, maybe depending on the type of business, like I use email a lot for my students and for my clients. That's how we transact. But I set boundaries. I don't want to be WhatsApping with my clients. So I tend to keep it more formal. But for those of you who are B2C and have loads of customers, social will help you. But be clear, everything is just setting down your parameters, understanding what the customer needs, but making sure that you can deliver.
Yeah, definitely. I really like the idea about writing down the FAQs, having them set out, and the FNCs as well. Because like what you was talking about before, it touches on transparency, and everyone likes transparency. No one's perfect, but people do like transparency. So got another question in from Dave. Is there not already too much traffic on platforms like Twitter to get anything noticed as a new business? We struggle with B2B on that.
All right. Okay. Do you know what you need to do? You need to, the first thing that I would do, I love this feature, probably one of my favorite features out of all the social networks, create a Twitter list. Create a Twitter list of all your customers that are on Twitter and put them into the list. Make it a public list and give your list a name. And when somebody is added to a Twitter list, they get a notification, and make sure that you give the Twitter list a polite and a kind and a professional name, you know, and don't call them potential customers that we need to sell to. Just talk about it. Call the list influencers in our industry. Okay, so you're going to start listening to them. And when you put organizations and accounts into a Twitter list, when you tap on the list, the Twitter newsfeed narrows from all the tweets to only the tweets from the people in the list. The other thing that I would say is, if you're B2B like me, you need to be on LinkedIn. There's real transactional opportunities over there for networking. LinkedIn has the biggest business database in the world. You can search people by sector, by company, by job name, and you can start connecting with them. And that's what I do. So I'm targeting marketers who are working on public sector for my accredited online courses. And then I ask them to come on to my podcast. I ask them to come on to my YouTube show. And I'm making those connections to develop a relationship. And then they see my content and then the natural sales relationship will develop.
100%, brilliant. And if anyone does want some more insight into how to leverage LinkedIn, go and check out our YouTube page. There's a link just in there. We did a brilliant webinar on there, so please do check that out on LinkedIn, or the YouTube video on LinkedIn, should I say. And we have another question in. So just regarding TikTok, its biggest audience is age 16 to 24. Are many people older than that generating content, and is this content popular, or is mainly people in the younger age group with content being watched?
Yeah, this is a great question. It actually doesn't matter what age you are, because TikTok will put what they call for you content in front of you. So my son Bobby looks at my TikTok and he goes, "Mum, your TikTok is so embarrassing. It's women who are in their 40s, you know, talking or dancing." So TikTok only shows me content that's related to me and what I like. So it doesn't really matter. It will match the content to the audience. And yes, older people are using it.
I guess that's kind of like the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
It kind of funnels what you want to you. So yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I think that is about it for now, guys. I mean, I've really enjoyed the questions that you asked. If anyone does have any more questions, please send it through now. While Joanne's speaking, Joanne, do you want to say any last words for us?
I just want to say thanks to you, Daniel, and to your colleagues for the invitation. I love talking social and digital. It's great to meet new people and to get new questions. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, and sure, we can continue to have social media conversations. I'm very open, very conversational, so we can continue it there.
Fantastic. And like I said, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, like I said, next week, a email is going to be coming out to everyone that registered. So it's going to have this YouTube link, so you'll be able to watch this video on demand. You'll have a copy of the slides. You'll have a couple of links from Joanne for her books, and also we'll be sending this social trends from HubSpot again in that too. So look out for that email. It's going to be full of stuff for you. And so yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on and staying on to the end. It's been really appreciated. And I look forward to seeing you again next week as we have another one of the CPDSO's weekly webinars. For now, have a good morning, evening, or night, wherever you are, and we will see you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Thanks again.